My encouragement for today, friends, I appreciate you coming by and just visiting with me for a few minutes and allowing me to visit with you for just a few minutes in regards to the devotion that I wrote today, A Word for the Weary. I don't know how you feel about a quiet time with God, but I was kind of raw. I wasn't kind of, I was very real and very raw about my time with God and spending time with the Lord every single day and what my feelings were about that. And when I speak and I share this story of me spending time with God and the animosity I had towards God, and how it just didn't change my heart right away. And I always tell the people that I'm speaking to, I'm sorry if that disappoints you, that a Proverbs 31 speaker didn't always like God's word, didn't always want to open God's word. In fact, was very rebellious against it. Many days stomping up the stairs, shaking my fist, saying to God, my creator and my king, this better be good. Because all of this came about during a rough time in my life. My son was born and had been born and was fighting a milk allergy that we were not able to detect until he was about 8 months old. So you can imagine the sleepiness and the sleep deprivation of a mom that had this newborn but also had a 2.5-year-old. And months went by, and either I slept on the floor in my son's room or my husband slept in the floor in my son's room. So at least every other night I was able to get a good night's sleep, which is really not enough to take care of a family, but you do what you have to do. And it was during this time that I was introduced to this Bible verse that's our key verse today, Isaiah 50 verse 4. The word that sustains the weary. The Lord has given me an instructed tongue to know the word that sustains the weary. He awakens me morning by morning. And I'll be honest with you, when I read the verse, I was like, well, yeah, I'm weary. I'm all about that. Give me a word because I am weary. But I did not like the morning by morning part whatsoever, because I was not getting any sleep. I was not happy in my marriage at the time. I was not being a very good mother to my 2.5-year-old. I had very violent temper, not violent to the point where I was abusive to her, but there's a hole in the wall in my old house that I had to patch up because I got so angry I stuck my foot through it. So I was just not a happy person. And I didn't understand, even though I'd been in church my whole entire life, I didn't understand how this word right here was going to translate into any, not this particular verse, but this word, this Bible here. How in the world was this going to help me be a better mom or be a better wife or be a better Christian? I just didn't understand all that. So I read this verse and I read the next verse, and I wanted to read that to you as well. It says, the sovereign Lord has opened my ears, and I have not been rebellious. I have not drawn back. So what Isaiah was saying is, when the Lord opened his ears to a truth, he was not rebellious. He didn't draw back. He did what he was told to do. He did what God expected him to do. So here I was in this situation where God had given me this word and was calling me. He tells us here, girls, I'm waking you up to listen, even though you think in your humanity and your knowledge of your own mind, which is so finite, but we convince ourselves that we can't learn in the morning, we can't think in the morning. I need my coffee, I need to read my paper, I need to watch GMA, whatever it might be. I can't do that until I can't function at all, until I have my coffee or whatever it might be. And for me, I'm not a coffee drinker, but I like to get up. I like to have conversation. I like to move around, get dressed, whatever. But then what happens is I never get back to my quiet time. So I began to get up out of bed every day. Many mornings, girls, I had just gotten to sleep. And I would say to God, did you see me? I just got to sleep. But wouldn't you know it, my son's room was right beside the room, or right around the corner from the room where my Jesus chair. And my Jesus chair is just an old ratty recliner. That's all it is. And I call it my Jesus chair because that's where I met with Jesus. It makes perfect sense. But in order to get to my son's room, I would have to pass the Jesus chair room. And in order to go back to bed, I would have to pass that room again. And each day that I did not sit down with Jesus, I was rebellious. So even with a rotten, stinky, terrible, stubborn will and hard heart, I went and met with him every single day. And what did I do? Many days I sat there. And I would say, I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know how to pray. I don't know what to ask for. And then I would start reading. I started by reading his Psalms. I had my old green Bible called the Living Bible. I started reading Psalms, and I started feeling better in my spirit in those moments. And I remember wanting God to change everyone around me. Get everybody to read these words every single morning, God, and then it would be all well. But you know what? He doesn't do that, and he didn't do that. Instead, what his words did were reflecting who I was, and it was not a pretty picture either. So the more time I spent with God, the more I realized how unlike God I was. And I was created in his image. I'm an image bearer. You are an image bearer. And I was not bearing his image very well at all. So I began to do the little yeses and saying yes to him when he asked me to do the little things. You know, the little things like make coffee for your husband even if you're mad at him. Go warm the car up every day so your children, you all don't have to get in the car cold. I'm not saying he's asking you to do that. These are things. These were kind things that I could do for my family. Little things for my family. Letting people out in traffic, which is absolutely something I never wanted to do. Letting people in front of me at the Walmart when I've got my 2 children and a cart full of groceries. It was the little things. Then it just began to show on my face that I was excited to be wherever I was. And I remember recognizing one day having done something really hard that the Lord wanted me to do. And my friend calling me on the phone and saying, you'll never know how much what you did for me today mattered. And I don't want to go in the whole detail of the story because I don't have time, and I want to be a respecter of your time. But I remember in that moment, and it gets me every time, holding on to that phone and feeling the warmth of God's smile from the top of my head to the tips of my toes. And it almost, I could get a glimpse of him. And I remember thinking, wow, this is what it's like. This is what it's like. And you know, things didn't turn around completely in my home, and the things that were not going the way in my life that I wanted them to go, those things didn't change like I was hoping God would resolve all of this and change all of these people. I'm still waiting to change them. Still waiting for him to change some people. Oh, I'm still waiting for him to change me more. But girls, I'm telling you, you cannot begin to understand what a morning quiet time with Jesus means. And I know many of you are busy. And I know this doesn't say specifically, well, Jesus got up in the morning and prayed. So even if you can't have a quiet time in the morning, maybe you can just grab a few minutes of prayer with him. If Jesus got up and prayed in the morning, then we could get up and pray in the morning. Have a few moments of time with God. And then maybe reserve time later in the day to spend some quality time with Jesus. There's some examples in today's devotion. Maybe it's while you're waiting for your son or daughter to get off the soccer field. Maybe it's while you're having lunch. Wherever you can find a Jesus chair, find a place to call your Jesus chair. Spend time in his word every single day. For me, it has to be in the morning because I get so distracted. I never get back to it. And I say, oh, I'll get back to it before I go to bed, and I don't. And then I go to bed knowing that I've disappointed the Lord, and I hate that. And how long, Wendy, this is the question I get, is how long, Wendy, did you have to do your quiet time in the morning before you saw a difference in your life? I wish I knew. I don't. Because I still look for those moments where I had with my friend on the phone where I can just almost see him and feel his pleasure in the transformation that his word and obedience to it is having on him, and he smiles down on me. If you don't even know where to start with a quiet time, our new Encouragement for Today book is the best place I know to start. This is how I like to describe the Proverbs 31 girls. And my friend Micah Campbell used it years ago, and I don't even know if she still uses it or if she even knows that I used it. But I loved it, and I use it every time I talk about my Proverbs 31 family. I say we're a bunch of women in love with the same man. His name is Jesus. Everything you read in the pages of this book is written by a woman who struggles with the same things that you struggle with, who gets great joy out of the things that you find joy in, and who wants so desperately to be more like Jesus, just like you. And so these are short, simple devotions written by women who are all in love with the same man and who just were blessed enough to be able to have something put in a book to encourage you. So I pray that you'll follow the link today on my devotion or on my little video here on my homepage and hop over and get you a copy today. And it's not too early to start Christmas shopping. It's never too early. This is the end part of September. Grab a couple for your girlfriends. Maybe y'all can start having quiet times together and talk about these once a week, even if it's by Skype, even if it's by FaceTime, even if it's by a go-to meeting, whatever it might be. Leave yourself open for some time with God, and maybe even some really good time with some godly girlfriends. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for listening and giving me a few minutes of your day today. And I pray that your day is a blessing, and I pray that today you will be a blessing to someone.